ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about inverse trig functions today. Alright, if you can't understand a word I just said, you can slow her down. Right? Slow it down. This is a video. Okay. Alright, here we go. If you need to, you can speed up, slow down, do what you need to, rewatch 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I don't care. If you can't tell, I am on location. This is my home, my digs. This is where I hope my kids sleep. And right now, I think they're all asleep. So, good day. All right, we got to get cruising because I got 15 minutes. That's my limit, my time limit. So, today we're talking about inverse trig functions. And so we're just going to get cracking right away. All right. First thing, what is an inverse? That is a good question. What is an inverse? It's kind of like an inside out, right? Kind of like an opposite of something. So let me tell you what. If I have a positive, what's the inverse of a positive? A negative, right? If I have a multiply, what's the inverse of multiply? A negative. Right? Okay, if I have a square, now I know this kind of looks like another multiply or whatever, but if I have a square, what's the inverse of a square? Square root. Okay, and vice versa. It goes backwards too. What's the inverse of negative? A positive. What's the inverse of division? Multiplication. What's the inverse of root? Square. Okay? Now, I don't know if you guys are real smart. Oh boy. I'm going to bring up some old memories. What about the inverse of a base? Well, the inverse of base is a log. A log, ladies and gentlemen. Those are our inverses that you've learned so far, I believe. I think that's all of them. Okay? What's the inverse of a log? A base. Okay? And so, today we're going to learn 3 more. I said thrice. Okay? And it's going to be the inverse of sine. Okay? The inverse of cosine. And the inverse of tangent. Alright, but I'm not going to tell you yet. You got to watch. By the way, the key word is Liza Minnelli. Okay, so if you're watching this by the end of the episode, you should know the key word is Liza Minnelli. Just write it down on your paper. Liza Minnelli. I'll know you watched it. Okay. Liza Minnelli. Okay, so what do we need inverses for? Why do we need inverses? Well, I'm going to go as fast as possible, guys. We need inverses to solve algebraic equations, get x by itself, right? So, for instance, if I had like x plus 2 equals 7, I need the inverse to get rid of that 2. So the inverse is going to be negative 2, right? You guys get the hang of this, right? Okay, that's an inverse. Let's say I have x squared equals 49. Alright, well, I need the inverse to get rid of that square, so x is all by itself. So if I do the inverse, it just cancels out that square, and I'm left with, I square root both sides, positive and negative 7. Well, I'm at a root, plus or minus. You probably forgot about that. Okay, so the whole point is trying to get rid of it. Well, how do I get rid of something? Alright, so I don't know where your notes taken, but we're almost a third through this lesson already. What if I had something like this? The sine of an angle. The sine of an angle is, let's go 4 over 5. Ooh. That sounds delicious. I want to know what angle. Now before we were able to solve for a side by just, multiplying that 5 and bringing it over here. But now I need to get rid of a sine. right? I need to get rid of the sine. And how do I get rid of the sine? You know, a lot of you guys probably say, oh, divide by sine, right? Divide by sine, and that'll cancel. But actually, that's not multiplying. And where's my undo function before you guys started all writing this down because you're not listening, you're just watching. Okay? Because I know you're listening to like Gangnam Style or something over the top of my voice. But this is not actually multiplication right in here. So I can't just divide. So here it is. And this is the lesson. If you pay attention in the next 30 seconds, you got it. How do I cancel sine? It's called sine inverse, babe. Right there. Do a sine inverse of both sides. I'm going to do a sine inverse on this side as well. These will cancel because sine and sine inverse cancel. I'm left with x equals the sine inverse. And we write that by -1 of 4 over 5. Okay? Now if I put that in my calculator, and this is not in my notes, I don't think at all. I'm just coming up with stuff right now. If I put that in my calculator, I'm just going to do it for kicks and giggles. Oh, how will I find that? Alright, well, depending on your calculator, boom, here we go. Hey, hi, Mom. My mom, she just watches all these videos. She just loves me. Right there above the sign, in like the blue, or maybe it's yellow, you got to press the shift. I say shifty sine. Alright, and you'll get that sine inverse. So shift the sine, you get sine inverse. Alright, and shifty just sounds a lot better. I'm going to go shift sine, and that's going to give me that inverse. I'm going to go 4 divided by 5, and I should get about 53.13 degrees. Okay, so what would that angle be? About 53.1. And I am writing with a mouse. So, and that's degrees, by the way. Whoop. So that's an angle. Okay, so forgive me. I know it's alright, but I'm already halfway done with the lesson. 7.5 minutes in, and I haven't even done one math problem yet. Okay, so here are the inverse functions. Ready? Inverse of sine is called sine inverse. We also call it arc sine, but shorthand we write the sine with the -1. Okay, so if you hear arc sine, you hear me say arc sine, really sine inverse. One and the same. Okay, some say potato, some say potato, some say arc sine, some say sine inverse. Okay, cosine, inverse of cosine is arc cos or cos inverse. Okay, remember this isn't reciprocal. Remember, it's not like the reciprocal like we talked about yesterday. That's completely different. And then we have tangent, and obviously the inverse of tangent is arctangent. And you can find all the inverses right above. If you go the shifty tan, that's going to be the inverse of tan. Okay, cool. Let's go. Find any inverse trig functions. Hit second, and then the original trig function, or shifty. Let's try. Let's do it. Alright, I'm going to zoom in. On my good side. Nope, that's my bad side. My good side. See? Never mind. See if you can figure out why it's my bad side. And my good side. Okay. Oh man, I can't even see now. This thing is covering right up. Okay. So I'm going to go shifty sine 1 divided by 2. And I got 30 degrees. Ah, that's the answer. It's so cool looking. Alright, shifty sine a 2. Wow, this is fun. Error. What? Shifty sine a 2. Error. Okay. You can't do this. It's impossible, by the way. It's one of those explosions in math. Okay. What about this? Cosine inverse of -1/2. All right. Let's go shifty cos of -1 divided by 2. And remember, if you're using the lousy calculators that you're borrowing from me right now, that everybody's going to be putting back, right? You're all going to put them back. You're going to have to put this like this first in your calculator, and then you hit shifty sine. right? So you're going to go -1 divided by 2, and then you hit Shifty sine. Okay? Actually, not sine. This is cosine. What am I doing? Somebody would have stopped me if I was there. Cos. Alright. And so I'm going to go, but with this fancy calculator, I can just, oh my goodness. Can you tell it's late at night, guys? Ah! Cos -1 divided by 2. And the answer is 120 degrees. Okay. 120. And because I'm in degrees, it's giving me degrees, not radians. Okay, make sure you're in degrees right now. Just do it. Okay, error, by the way. E, I'll say for error. Okay, next. Moving on. You guys try. Okay? So, I'm going to pause it. Or you pause it. I'm not going to pause it. You pause it. Figure it out. See if you guys get the right answer. Boom! Magic trick. Here's the answers, alright? You should have paused it. You better not be cheating. Okay, 45 is the first one, 180, and 0 is the next. Alright, cool. Let's get to a story problem, because I know you guys love story problems, especially Ashley. Okay, a yardstick casts a 4-foot shadow when the sun is at an angle of elevation of blank degrees. We don't know what the degrees is. Determine the angle of elevation of the sun to the nearest tenth of a degree. Alright, so here's a yardstick, and it's going to cast a shadow of 4 feet. A yardstick. Guys, let's use our brains here. A yard is how many feet? Right? I know it doesn't say it, but I wasn't born yesterday. So it's going to cast a 4-foot shadow, and I know a yardstick is 3 feet long. Alright, so, wowzer, that's a crooked line. I want to know this guy right here, the angle of elevation. That's the guy I want. I want him. I want him. Okay. Telling you guys, I wish I taught at night. At like 9:30 every night, I would be on fire every night. Alright, from this angle, this is the opposite. From this angle, this is the adjacent. Okay, because this is the hypotenuse, right? I still have some people messing this up. And it's okay. If you're still not sure how to label these, ask me. Okay, I am after school today, by the way. I'm just in the makerspace all day. Okay? I know my opposite, my adjacent, my hypotenuse is worthless. Okay? Don't know anything about it. So I'm working with an O and an A, and tangent uses O and A, right? So I'm going to go tangent of that angle, x, should equal 3/4. Sweet! Okay. How do I cancel tangent, right? I want to solve for x. How do I cancel tangent? Tan inverse. Alright. Does that make sense? So x is going to be, I got to do tan inverse on the other side. I'm just not going to write it out because it takes too long. Tan inverse of 3/4. And that's going to be the answer. Okay, I'm going to pause it and tell you the answer. Alright, so it is about 36.87 if my calculation is correct. So what is the angle of elevation from that point of where the shadow ends up to the sun? It is about 36 degrees, almost 37 degrees. Cool. Alright, I don't know if I'm going to get another one in. We will go fast. Alright, I'm going to draw a picture of the situation, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so this one's a little harder to understand, but basically you have a frame of a house 6 feet by 16. It says a diagonal beam makes with the base of the frame. What is this angle here? Okay? Alright, so this is what I would do for a picture. I'm going to stop and show you my equation I'd write. Alright, so when I wrote it out, I figured out it was tan of x equals 6/16. Did the inverse on both sides. Alright, guys, start working on your work. Mr. Fisher will be here in a few minutes.